Video we're going to look at the Drake equation. Now, for what it's worth, you can, figure that out. Sure. But I'm not. It's because of this, okay, at that time.
I have to dig it up for you. And again, I'm one of the reasons I become a journalist is so I don't have to do math. So,
yeah, so I do the math. So there it is. It took me 3 post-it notes and some coffee. But there's your Drake equation. And that was my first attempt. But I got thinking, and then I went to my second attempt, and I think I pretty much get it. So I'm gonna put it in my book. What is it? I guess I'm following Ramanujan's number decode. So yeah, it's pretty sure.
You know, it's like whatever has happened to humans has happened so the advancement is.
Things first, we got the Drake equation. So in my head I thought of the numbers that spelled Drake, and I think I figured out like the 11s and 8 kind of paradigm. So 4 circled 3 and 18 circled 8, and there's the A and the E. You're left with a K. And I thought the K is just that, so I was like, it's basically an 8 made of circles, so why doesn't it count as circled? So, there's your circle 38, 58 kind of.
So unique. It's so different than any other animal. If we really have been visited since the beginning of time.
Then I was thinking about if I met aliens, I would give them this message or something like it, because it's your 1 of 7 of 13 of 110 of 2143 from a certain point of view. I'm sure there's other ways of doing this.
Since history, if all those biblical stories and all the stories from the Bhagavad Gita and all these ancient texts that.
So then I wrote down the equation, Drake's equation, and I was like, look at all those F's. And why is that one capitalized? L's on my board, that's a Roman numeral. I got a 666, I got a bunch of dots, and I got a thing that's a snowflake, and it's a star for a reason.
That do talk about vimanas and flying crafts and beings that come down from upon high.
And I got an N and an R, and I'm like, okay, well, let's just look at it this way. Let's say every one of the points of the star has a dot something. First, I just put dots. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, perfect.
If all that really is aliens intervening with the biological evolution.
Because that's a hexagram. And you look at a cube on an angle, you get that. It's the Walmart logo, people. Shop smart. Shop Walmart. Now, if you put the dots around, and then at the end I was like, I don't know what to say here, and whatever. I tried to group them as in like star, capitals, lower cases, and I was like, subset, uppercase, subset. And I was like, nah, almost reminded me of relic, and I was like, ELIC. Anyway, I was looking at this going, okay, well, what if they're just at the end?
Of human beings. How fucking weird are we?
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about how weird we are, period, I mean, maybe that would kind
So I go, okay, let me get to this one.
of explain that we're some stupid science experiment.
So what do you get out of this? What I see is that n is equal to r, so that's a 14. A 14 is equal to an 18, and the only way a 14 can be an 18 is if you have a 14. But when you look at the whole thing in the middle, it's really a 15, 16, 17, 18.
well, people say, I want disclosure. I want to know. We're ready. We can handle it.
So that is how a 14 is equal to an 18 in my mind. But it's a subset of 18. A subset of the whole thing.
Are you sure?
You can't handle the truth.
Are you sure you can handle it? Because we don't know exactly what it is that can be disclosed.
I just figured it out while I was editing the video. So what I just said there is like, n is equal to r, your 14 is also part of your 18 when it's broken up, as you can see. And the reason that it's interesting that it goes 1, 2, 3 hops down is because 6, 6, 6 is 18. That's my thought on that. You know, what's R? R is 18, 26, 44. All I'm trying to get at here, guys.
You snotty little bastard.
Your Honor, I'd like to ask for a recess.
Listen, I'm gonna give a clue here now. I don't want any more bullshit anytime during the day. From anyone. That includes me.
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth.
It's gonna be very hot. Gonna be very uncomfortable for everybody. Want anybody yelling?
I have a greater responsibility than you can possibly fathom.
We get anybody yelling around here anymore today, and then the shit is gonna hit the fan.
But what if it turns out that we're an agricultural product? You know, that we are being harvested for something, or we're being allowed to breed and kind of
A subset of the whole thing. A subset of that. So I go, okay, what subset are we starting with? And I go, well,
science experiment. Let's see where this goes. And then when it's time to end the experiment, I mean, I'm not sure people can handle it. Look at how they've handled COVID.
because FP is first, and it's the only one with the capital, I put it at 12 o'clock, and then I went counterclockwise. Because it's always like 2 minutes to midnight, and that's when Armageddon is going to happen, so I kind of like, you know, that pattern. So you start with a 6, subset P. Great.
And they didn't share information.
It pissed him off so bad, man.
Well, it was what the way he described best is that
Hey, we have a frame of reference. There is a 6. That's an F. Cool. P. Well, what is P? P. Capital P is really the 26th letter plus the 16th letter, or is that the 42nd letter? And I find it very entertaining that the 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, ring, counted as a 15, sums to 42.
scientific research, the way you progress is everybody works together.
Because that would be 30, 2 times 5 is 10, and then you have 1 and 1 is 42. So I find it interesting that in the north position from the singularity, which is of course a 6, because your reference point, the north direction sums to 42, just like a capital P does. But not only that, 1 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 is 16, the letter P.
And it doesn't happen in a vacuum. So they were literally trying to do scientific research without the scientific method.
That's what this says. So after that, I was like, okay, we could go down to the... Yeah, I was like, nah. Let's go down. Like, if you're going to do north, let's do south. We're going 6, and I'm finding all these 666s and different ways of doing 666 and all that.
They were trying to withhold information from them and only get them to concentrate on one aspect of this project.
How many unique 666s can you do with 4? Anyway, I don't care. We're going down to the F to the I now. So what's F to the I? Well, that's just 6 to the 9. And I was thinking, well, if you have a 6, and it's in a circle, and there's enough room for a white 9. This is the whole premise of this kind of thing down here. So I was like, okay, well, what's south of the 6? It's actually a 7. And what's a 7? 7 is equivalent to a circled 6.
Without the whole group coming together and getting some sort of a comprehensive understanding of what these things are.
So I'm like, okay, so this sums to 42. This sums to 16. And this is a representation of your F subset I, or a 69, or a circled 6, which would be a 7, which is in the south position.
Bob said he wasn't the most qualified person to do the job either. And that
Right.
freaked him out. And he didn't have the right materials even.
So I said, that's kind of interesting. Right? That's 2 for 2. From my reference point. So then I go, okay, well, let's go to the C now. because I was like, well, below it is a 7, but if you're going to go this way, this one is also a 7, so that just was natural to me to go that way. And I said, okay, well, what's after the 7?
He would wince, and he just didn't like the idea that he was going to do this thing that he knew that millions and millions of people were going to see him talk about this for hours and hours.
I said, the 13's after the 7, if you go diagonally. Go look at my reckoner. You should have one. So I said to myself, what does this mean? Well, C is the 3. So we got a circled 3, and 7's a circled 6. So in bubble notation, if we get rid of the bubbles for the 2 extra bubbles, maybe like that bubble. Yeah. Just saying, 7's a circled 6, and you have a circled 3, and that's 6 and a 3. So I said that's 3 for 3 in my book.
I reject your reality and substitute my own.
He would wince, and he just didn't like the idea that he was going to do this thing that he knew that millions and millions of people were going to see him talk about this for hours and hours.
And then I go, okay, what's over here? And I'm like, the 1. Oh, of course.
And he knew it was all going to come back up again. All the investigation, all the people fucking with him, all the attention.
6 to the 6. Well, what's over here? What's that? Come on, people. I wrote down, it's a 1. How can that mean F to the F? Well, circled 6. This is also a 1 by 6. You can say a circled 6 is a 7, or a circled 6 is kind of like a 6 subset 6, or the FF.
That he had avoided. Another important point is this is not a guy who profited off of this story.
No.
That's what I was thinking. It's the other way of looking at it. From your point of reference. I didn't think about that one too much, but anyway.
This guy told this story for 31 years and didn't profit off of it.
It's so frustrating. It's fun.
It's like, from a singularity, the 6 could be the outstretching 6s and then the containment 6s. Because you're not bubbling, you're cubing. You're making a cell that I have modeled with constructs.
But George's been doing this 30 years. It's like you always get one step forward. And look, we all want to know if this stuff is true, but the weight of the evidence is so heavy now with the government programs and everything that you've been involved with.
And this one's interesting because I said, okay, well, that L, there is an L on the Roman numerals. So so this is your V. And if that's your V, then right below the 7 will be your X. And then right below the 7, below it, will be your L. So really, from your source, if you go 1, 2, 3 hops, or 1, 2, 3 hops, you're kind of making a bigger V.
It's just an exciting time. And I think I learned more in this last year than all the time before.
With an L at the end. So I thought to myself, because if you go up, there's not really much to learn about going up. And same thing with this side. I was like, okay, we went down here because there's things.
And I think that's going to continue. I don't think we're all of a sudden going to say, okay, this doesn't matter anymore. If this is real.
Yeah.
We've already used all this, really, so the up parts to me were kind of challenging. But I was looking at, well, what's NE? Oh, that's just the 14th letter. It's not a capital N. It's not the 40th. It's a 14 plus 26. This is a 40. This is a 14.5, and we have that. Right there.
I'm not counting on any answers anytime soon. We may know more about what the government knows, but that's not the ultimate answer. I mean, what if it turns out...
It confirms a reference point, people. Always keep track of your frame of reference.
These are not aliens. They live here. There's some other intelligence that we can't see. They can reach in like rats in a...
So that's why I know, like, 6 brings, you know, like, it's like Pink Floyd chapter 24. 6 is complete, 7th brings return. It's like when Duncan Trussell says that. Anyway, so that's kind of like your ending. So it's like I got ahead of myself. But the reason I thought that this is L is because what is L? Okay, yeah, L is a 12. Okay, and we have circled 6s everywhere.
In a cage and pull us out once in a while or do experiments to us, and it's their planet.
Okay, what else is L? L is the 50. L is the grand 5-to-1 code.
And it's their planet, and we're living in this tiny slice of reality and don't realize what's going on around us.
Now, you have a circled 6. A 7 is just a circled 6. What is this one? This one's a 13. That's what this one is. Of course it's a 13. What's a 13? A 13 is just equivalent to a circled 12.
What's proof?
Right.
What is a level of proof? You know,
Right.
for those cases, this phenomena is elusive.
So we get really like a representation of an L or a 12 here. If that's a 7, which is a circled 6, and you're counting for the 1/6, it could be a 6 and a 6, which is a 12. Same thing with maybe if this is this. And let's just put it this way.
It wants to show us glimpses of itself and glimpses of other realities, but it doesn't want us to be able to prove it. It's as if it's trying to tell us
1, 2, 3, 4 different ways of expressing a 12. It's 48. That was 50. I'm working on it, people. I don't know yet.
it's like a learning curve, you know, that reality isn't what it used to be, that it's way more complicated than you might think it is.
Oh, you know what else is interesting? Oh, I just saw that. 42. Capital P is 26 plus 16 is 42. What's 42? 42 is equal to 6 times 7. Where do you see that? I just saw it right here. You're going... It's kind of below, but you're going up. But I just think that's... I just saw that. Anyway.
Putting all these different weird phenomena together, when you can't really prove any of them, it's trying to tell you something. So what can you learn from it?
Yeah, if that's a circle 12, if that's a representation of some have a 12, and that's a 12, and that's a 12. How is that a 12? Look, you have a 1, and you're going to cut it in 2.
He thinks about this stuff on a different level. You know, it used to be, we all thought it saw that alien on the cover of his book, Communion. And
that could be a 12. That could be a 12. That could be a 12. That could be a 12.
And figured it was a space alien from some other planet, and he's on a whole different level about what they might be now.
What does he think they are?
I like, in essence, gods. I mean, Jacques Vallée had said, if you can manipulate space-time, if you can create your own gravity like the craft that Bob was talking about.
My 42 over here does this.
You could be from other planets, other solar systems, other times. You could be time travelers. You could be from other dimensions.
That would be symmetrical.
Or all of the above. Like Dr. John Mack had suggested that abductions and these strange experiences in connection with them suggest that we're part of a galactic neighborhood, a cosmic neighborhood.
That could be the extra 2.
Multi-dimensional reality that we haven't got our heads around yet. And
if that's a 12, 12, 12, 12, that could be the 2. Because this would be like a...
that it's important for our ultimate survival that we figure it out.
Anyway. Yeah, so the reason I have L here is because I found a relation to both 50 and 12 by looking down the line to eventually get to the L.
It was doing some sort of active jamming.
That's right. An act of war. This is the other paper I wanted to tell you about it.
And since it's not the first, second, third, fourth, it's really the fifth step I did.
It does mention aliens, so it's a it is a recalculation of
Am I in trouble for having
No,
this?
no, no. They're
Two not done at the end.
not classified. It says unclassified. It just hasn't been
Fucking
released.
Run out of this room right now.
It just recalculates how likely it is there are alien
got 'em.
civilizations in our
Dot on the line to the middle. There.
solar system or our
How
cosmos.
likely? So it's about the Fermi paradox.
It's
The
sort of
Drake
it's the
equation
Drake
stuff.
equation.
1, 2, 3, 4. It's the fifth step. There's 2 steps left. And you're going from the center point of reference via a dot. Sorry, a dot and a line.
Done this
And
years
extended.
ago about they tried to figure out how many planets are out there, how many are uninhabited. This is a reworking of the calculations.
But really, I think in this is like a one. It's like a 1 by 3 because you're going 3 hops down. 1, 2, 3.
Again, I can't read it. I became a
Defense
journalist.
Intelligence Reference Document, an
Yeah.
introduction to the statistical. Drake equation. So this is something that they created for the Defense Department.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to say here with the 12s. I was like, there's 2 6s. There's 2 6s. I was thinking like 2 6s.
So,
So-
that they could get an understanding.
Yeah, what the baseline of our information is about all those different topics I told you about.
But really, I don't know. Yeah, I still think this is 12, 12, 12, 12, 48, and then that's your extra 2.
And then this one is how likely is it that we have galactic neighbors and how close might they be?
Yeah, the key question.
Wow. So yeah, that's everything I have to say about that.
How far are they?
It comes to an answer. It's like 30
Yeah.
pages into that, but you're the first person outside the program
Wow.
to see it.
You
So,
gotta drop
You
those.
sure this is okay?
Yeah,
It
it's
feels
okay.
like I'm gonna get visited.
They'll be safe with Ramanujan's number.
You're all right.
Yeah. Well, how far do they think they are?
I hope they're digging it for you. And again, I'm one of the reasons I become a journalist is so I don't have to do math. So